Are you overwhelmed by all the different property strategies? Maybe you've heard of HMO, service accommodation, BRRR, and you're not sure which property strategy is right for you. Well, in this video, I'm going to break down the most profitable property strategies. So whether you are a beginner or an experienced investor, you can choose the right strategy that's going to help you build wealth. So if you're starting off with little capital or you want to scale fast, there's something here for you. So let's dive in. First is rent to rent. So rent to rent is essentially where you will take a property from a landlord, agree with them a fixed rent that you'll be paying them, and then you ultimately have control over that property, and then you can either rent it out, room by room, for example, or you could actually put it on Airbnb and rent it out as a service accommodation. And ultimately your goal is to make a profit. So the money that you're charging every night, for example, on Airbnb, minus all the costs and the rent that you're paying the landlord, should enable you to be quite profitable every single month. This is a great strategy if you're starting off with little to no capital. You can actually get a property, do a light refurb on it to ensure that it's ready to be either tenanted out to different tenants. So if you're going to do room by room, or if you're going to have it as an Airbnb, that you've got it into a high standard. And you can do this for anywhere from 3 to 5, 6 grand, depending on the location and what the property is and looks like as well. Now, there are some pros and cons you want to be aware of when it comes to this strategy. The pro is you don't actually need that much capital. So it's a low barrier to entry. The second thing, if you are good at managing people and that's something that you enjoy, then this strategy you'll do very well in. The main con really is that you don't own the asset. So that property essentially isn't yours. And you need to ensure you've got the right contracts in place that protect both yourself and the landlord. The second is deal sourcing. So deal sourcing is like matchmaking for property investors. Ultimately, you actually go out and find deals for property investors and then sell it on to them. Now you might be thinking, why would a property investor come to a deal sourcer? Can't they just go out and find it themselves? Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of property investors, especially high net worth individuals, are really busy. They've got businesses to run and have other priorities as well, and they don't have the time to actually go out and find a property, let alone find a good deal. So that's where a deal sourcer can come in. For a fee, the deal sourcer will actually find the investor a deal that suits them. This is a good strategy, especially if you are low on capital as well, as you will need to open up a company and ensure you're registered to the right bodies and regulations. However, this isn't a huge cost. It is little to no capital up front, which is one of the actual pros. Now, the big challenge when it comes to deal sourcing is you need to ensure that you are networking with property investors consistently, as your network is going to play a big factor in how successful you are in this strategy. Also, ensuring the legalities are all abided by as well is very important. Buy to let. Now, this is a classic property strategy. Ultimately, this is where you just buy a property and then you rent out to a tenant and you make a nice, or you hope to make a nice profit every single month. This is probably the most common property strategy amongst investors. And again, it comes with its pros and cons. The pro is with buy-to-lets, they can be pretty passive. Even if you're managing it yourself, generally speaking, if you've done your due diligence and you've picked good tenants, there isn't actually that much work that goes into it. Also, over time, you can build capital growth and decent amount of cash flow from your property. Now, the challenge is there is a higher upfront cost. So the buy-to-let, typically you'll be putting down a 25% deposit on your property purchase. So you need the capital to actually purchase a property. And also what you'll see as well is cash flow can be quite low when compared to other more profitable property strategies. HMOs. Now, HMOs is a level up from your buy-to-lets. So this is actually when you rent out room by room to different tenants. Technically, an HMO is when you rent out your property to 3 or more unrelated people. Now, again, this comes with its pros and cons. The pro is you have higher cash flow. If you buy the right HMO in the right area, then your cash flow is likely to be higher than typically from a standard buy-to-let. There's also more income streams as well. If one of the tenants aren't paying, then it doesn't completely wipe out your profits. However, if you have a buy-to-let and the tenant stops paying, that's your whole rent gone. The cons is there's more active management. Typically, you've got more people that you're going to be managing, and generally this is going to be more time in the business. There's stricter regulations as well. So you have to ensure you have a HMO license, that you have the right fire exits, and ensuring that your property isn't in areas where they restrict HMOs. Next, we have service accommodation. This is actually where you would rent out your property nightly. This is different to your buy-to-lets and HMOs, as they tend to be for longer term tenants. Generally, you'd have your property on platforms such as Airbnb and Booking.com, and you may even actually create your own website as well. And this can be a great strategy, as if purchased in the right area, which attracts the right type of guests and tourists or contractors, you could actually have a high cash flowing property, which is definitely a pro that comes with service accommodation. However, it's also worth understanding that some of the cons with service accommodation is that it can be seasonal. If it's a property in an area where it attracts high demand in the summer but none in the winter, you have to accommodate for that. You also have to ensure you're managing it accordingly, have all the systems and processes in place, or you've got the right team in place to do that for you. Next up is BRRR. Now this is the buy, refurb, rent, refinance method. This is where you typically buy a property and add value to it, then refinance it at its new price, pulls either all or some of the money out, and then rent it out. There's different types of conversions that you could do. You could actually buy a property that's actually in not a bad condition. It could be a 2-3 bed terrace property and actually convert it into a 6-bed HMO, for example. Or you could buy a property, convert it, and have it running as a service accommodation. With the buy, refurb, rent, refinance method, it can mean that you can actually take out a lot of the capital that you deployed in the deal. It leads me on to the benefit that you can actually scale very quickly if you know how to use this method correctly. The one challenge I would say with BRRR is you definitely need to acquire real knowledge when it comes to property, understanding what type of property you want to be looking for, understanding the nuances of costs on projects, and also ensuring that you liaise and work with the right team as well. As if your property is going to require refurbing, then you want to ensure that you've got the right project management and building team in place to do that for you. And you may even need a good architect as well. And lastly, my personal favorite, multi-unit deals. So this is where you buy a block of flats. This could typically be anywhere from 2+ flats, and you buy it under freehold title. Then split those titles and add leaseholds to those titles to then uplift the value of those flats. As doing that, you'll be creating intrinsic value to each single flat. This does come with its pros and cons. A pro, similar to HMO, there's multiple streams of income coming in. And again, if done correctly, you can scale quite quickly. However, it is more expensive and it does come with a higher risk as well, especially if you purchase a block of flats and then you actually come to create titles for each flat. It could be that they are downvalued and you don't get the valuation that you hope for, meaning you're not putting out the money that you wished. It's essential that you actually understand blocks of flats and how to assess if a block of flats is a good deal. So there you have it. Those are the main property strategies that can help you build wealth. Now the question is, which one fits your goals? If you do want me to dive deeper into any one of these strategies, do let me know and drop a comment in the comment section below. So I hope this video helped you understand the strategies a little bit more and gave you some clarity into what strategy would fit you best. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like. And if you found value from this video or any other video on this channel, then do subscribe as well. And until next time, happy investing.